You already know there are 7 things standing between you and the love you truly deserve, and none of them are what you think. Right now, without realizing it, the very things you believe are protecting you are doing something entirely different, something far more powerful. And once you understand what that something is, a part of you that has been waiting a very long time finally feels free. This is not about strategy. It is not about games or formulas or becoming someone you were never meant to be. What psychology shows us is something far more honest than any advice you have been given before. There is a quiet, consistent pattern, one that most people never see clearly, that separates women who attract deep, devoted, lasting love from women who keep finding themselves in connections that feel like almost enough. And this pattern has nothing to do with how beautiful you are, how old you are, or how much of yourself you have already given. It has everything to do with what you are willing to refuse. Right now, your boundaries, the ones you have slowly softened, quietly surrendered, or never quite felt safe enough to hold, are communicating something about you to every person who enters your life. You were never truly taught that refusal is a form of power. You were taught to accommodate, to be easy, to ask for less so that you might lose less. But beneath the surface, something deep inside you has always known the truth. The love you have been accepting is not the love you were made for. The first thing smart women refuse is chasing. When a man is genuinely drawn to you, you do not need to remind him that you exist. You do not need to be the one who always reaches out first, who finds reasons to appear in his world, or who keeps the connection alive through sheer effort. Smart women understand at a level that lives beneath strategy and above hope that real attraction moves toward you. It does not need to be pulled. It does not need to be convinced. The moment you begin chasing, you change the energy of everything. You become the one who is more invested, the one who needs more, and something shifts in a way that is very hard to undo. A man who is right for you will never require you to compete for his notice. He will not need reminders of your value. Your presence, simply being who you are, is already enough. Refusing to chase is not a game. It is the quiet, unshakable knowledge that you will not go where you are not already being sought. The second thing smart women refuse is over-explaining themselves. You do not owe anyone a long, carefully constructed justification for saying no. You do not owe a paragraph on why your standards exist, why you need time, or why something does not feel right deep in your chest. Smart women say what they mean clearly, honestly, and without apology. Psychology shows us that when someone over-explains their choices and their limits, they unconsciously signal that they are not sure they deserve to hold them, that they need permission to feel what they already feel. But you do not need permission. Your comfort does not need a case built around it. Your no is whole and complete on its own. Your truth does not need to be defended before it can be respected. It only needs to be spoken, quietly and clearly, by someone who believes it. The third thing they refuse is shrinking their standards. Somewhere along the way, perhaps more than once, you absorbed a quiet, damaging message that having high standards makes you difficult, that wanting real loyalty, consistent presence, and genuine emotional availability is somehow asking for too much. That love is about compromising yourself until you no longer recognize who you are. But what psychology shows us is something entirely different. When you lower your standards to make someone comfortable, you do not become easier to love. You become less yourself. And the version of you that slowly disappears, the one who knew what she deserved, who could recognize what was real, who refused to pretend, is exactly the version that inspires deep, lasting respect. Smart women understand that their standards are not walls built out of fear. They are windows, and through them, only what truly belongs in their life can enter. The fourth thing they refuse is being available on demand. Your time is one of the most powerful messages you send. When you rearrange your entire world the moment someone calls, When you clear your schedule and cancel your plans and put everything on hold for a person who has not yet shown they deserve that priority, you are communicating something beneath the surface, something that says your own life is less important than their attention. Smart women have full lives, things they love, people who matter to them, work that gives them meaning. And this fullness, this unperformed, unglamorous sense that they are not waiting for anyone to make their life feel real, creates a kind of gravity that no technique could ever replicate. Refusing to be available on demand is not coldness. It is not strategy. It is the simple, grounded truth that your life was already full before they arrived. And that truth is extraordinary. The fifth thing they refuse is trying to rescue emotionally unavailable men. Your empathy is one of the most extraordinary things about you. Your ability to feel deeply, to recognize pain in another person, to want to help carry it, this is a gift. But psychology shows us a pattern that quietly costs empathetic women more than they ever planned to spend. When you meet someone who cannot give you what you so naturally give, something in you reaches further in. You mistake his emotional distance for a wound you are the right person to heal. You stay longer than the evidence says you should. You pour more patience, more understanding, more of your heart, believing that your love will be the thing that finally changes something. But you were never meant to be anyone's emotional renovation project. You were meant to be chosen, fully and freely, without needing to earn it first. The right one will not need you to rescue him into loving you. He will simply love you. The sixth thing smart women refuse is hiding their depth. Somewhere, perhaps many times, you received a message that being too much was a problem. Too emotional, too honest, too thoughtful, too intense about the things that matter to you. And perhaps you learned, quietly and carefully, to offer a smaller version of yourself in certain rooms until you were sure it was safe to be seen. Smart women have unlearned this. They bring their full intelligence, their emotional truth, their real thoughts into connection, and they allow a man's response to that truth to tell them everything they need to know. A man who shrinks in the presence of your depth is answering a question you needed answered. The right man leans in. He is drawn forward. Your depth is not a problem to be managed. It is a filter, and it is already doing exactly the work it was designed to do. The seventh thing, and perhaps the most quietly exhausting of all, is settling for almost committed, almost consistent, almost present, almost in love. Smart women have learned, sometimes through real heartbreak, that almost is its own kind of pain, slow, invisible, and far more draining than a clear, honest ending would ever be. Right now, if there is something in your life that carries the feeling of almost, if you are working harder to convince yourself it is enough than you are simply quietly feeling that it is your heart already has the answer you are afraid to say out loud. You have known for longer than you have allowed yourself to admit. And the feeling inside you that insists, gently but persistently, that you deserve more, that is not bitterness, that is not fear, that is not you asking for too much. That is the truest, wisest part of you, and it has never once been wrong. Here is what runs through all seven of these things. Every single one of them is a form of self-knowledge, so settled, so honest, so quietly certain that it does not need to perform. It simply is. And it changes everything about the way love finds you. You deserve love that does not make you question your own worth every time you are alone with your thoughts. You deserve a connection where your presence is treasured, not tested, where your depth is welcomed, not managed, where the person across from you rises to meet you not because you asked, but because they cannot imagine anything else. Your worth is not determined by who stayed. Your value does not shrink because someone could not see it. You were never the problem. You were never too much. You were never too emotional, too deep, or too unwilling to disappear into someone else's comfort. Loving fully was not your mistake. Holding your ground was not your mistake. Refusing to accept what your heart told you was not enough. That was never your mistake. That was your integrity. and it has always been worth protecting. Smart women do not attract real love by becoming less of who they are. They attract it by becoming more fully, more honestly, more unshakably themselves. And that woman, the one who refuses to chase, refuses to hide, refuses to settle for almost, she is not someone you have to become. She is already inside you. You are simply remembering her now. If this resonated with something real in you today, hit that like button and join the Psychology Wisdom family. Subscribe so the next insight finds you before you even knew you were searching for it. You deserve to feel this seen and this understood every single day. And if this spoke to someone you love, share it with them right now.